Okay. I guess I better go ahead and talk about this issue because a lot of people are talking about this issue for a while, and I will have to say this. I guess will have to be the final verdict on this issue because I want to address an issue and I want to address this in a nicer way because the protests have gone to the point where it's just sad because I had to delete an episode because a friend of mine didn't wish to be on the live stream, so I respected it and deleted the episode and wanted to address some things about what's going on, especially right now. There's been a lot of issues with cancel culture and all this other shit that's been going down on the internet. A lot of it people don't want to associate with, and a lot of people don't want to associate with the whole issue with violence and everything else. And it became a big situation to where people didn't want to get involved in this whole protest thing because it got to the point where people were getting killed and people were getting hurt and people were afraid, and it's understandable. And there's also the fact that it involved criminal elements such as gangs and such, and this has becoming an issue. I wanted to address this issue because of the fact that it bothered a lot of people. It brought a lot of concern to me about this issue because of the fact that did it really all matter to anyone what was going on with the chaos that's been happening? And a lot of people have been discussing this issue for a while, and the fact that this had happened was a little bit more concerning to a lot of people. There were a lot of things that were going on in Seattle, especially what is going on right now. It brought a lot of concern to the issue, and it just didn't seem like it was a good thing that happened. What became of it was just ridiculously silly to the point where it became like a negative thing where people were going, if you're not with us, you're against us type of mentality, to the point where people were going off on each other left and right over this and doing cancel culture, calling out people left and right and doing this whole thing that it just became serious. Now, a lot of businesses have been talking about this issue, and there was a lot of things that happened, especially their support for them. And I had to point out some of the issues about what did Twitch do and why Twitch never did this, because a while back Twitch kind of got called out for their bullshit because they suspended particularly they didn't let Alinity do this, but there was a video that I watched a while back, and I'll show it to you guys again because a lot of people were talking about Alinity, for example, and Amaranth, and of course they had to go with that whole Black Lives Matter thing because they were in support of it. But of course a lot of people pointed out, why didn't you suspend Alinity when she said the N-word, or Amaranth for almost saying the N-word? But the problem is, it involved the whole cancel culture element of the issue, and thus they kind of got upset about this. This had been brewing a long time, and a lot of people had to point out their hypocrisy, especially businesses associating themselves with China, especially when China had to do some things that were very shady to the African American population that wanted to work there, that wanted to live there, that wanted to visit there. And of course, they went so far as to, and it seems that, and it was in a specific province in China. Mind you, this was a certain area in China that this was causing an international incident with Africans who just from Nigeria, Ghana, you name it. There were a lot of black people moving over there from South Africa to either work there or to visit there or to see how it is. but they saw that they were being discriminated against because of the whole COVID-19 issue, and the Chinese had to bring out a scapegoat, which is black people. And a lot of people talked about this. If you don't believe me, there are news articles that were posted 3 months ago about this, concerning about this issue, especially in the New York Times. They have discussed this, and a lot of people had brought up these discussions and issues about this issue, and it was very concerning why these businesses would involve themselves to the BLM movement and donate money, because of the fact there is some questions that involve them, especially Amazon. Amazon is in support of Black Lives Matter, but the issue that I have with it is that this is kind of hypocritical of Amazon, considering that they had fired a black man who worked at Amazon as a manager, and he basically whistleblowed the whole issue, trying to help his fellow co-workers who were under the risk of infection, and he wanted to make sure that they were all protected and making sure that it would be, the place would be sanitized and everything. But of course, Amazon didn't care, and therefore they fired him when he protested this whole issue to them. This is the type of issue that kind of bothers to make me question, did it really matter what this whole thing was about when George Floyd died? Did it really all matter? Because of the fact that people need to understand this issue, because of the fact that there's a lot of hypocritical things that are going on, and this is something I need to show you guys in a video about Twitch and the whole Linity situation, because I will show you guys the video again, and hopefully it would be a little bit interesting to talk about, because a lot of people were discussing this issue, and this was something that boggled the mind of a lot of people talking about this, because this was something that was, let me see if I can find it, because I know that I seen the video and a lot of people had talked about this issue. And let me see if I can find it, because I saw the video and I thought it was a very interesting video. Okay, let's see here, because I just want to address this issue right now. So I'm trying to look at something here, because this is something that needs to be addressed, because I'm trying to look for the video in question, because I had it in my history, and there is a lot of discussion to be made about this, because it is a very interesting video about Alinity saying the N-word. And this was a very, very interesting video that people brought up, that I thought it was very interesting. Now, a lot of people pointed this out to me when they showed me this video.
And then, but Nigger Next Prime is in the channel, okay?
So as you guys can see, this is Keemstar posting Alinity saying the N-word. This was like about an hour ago, I would say. And her response to that was that she stated that she said, Nick, your next prime is in the channel. I don't know, some bullshit like that. And then she also responded that no one should be wrongfully banned, neither female or male, for like, I don't know, that pronunciation shit. I don't know. She deleted her response to Keemstar for some reason. I don't know why. But Twitch, if you guys don't take a stand to this, I don't know what to say. Everybody, go to Mixer right now. Listen to me, Simplest CB. Download Mixer right now. Watch Ninja. Your favorite streamer to move to Mixer. I'm tired of Twitch. That shit is trash. I know you guys literally remember when Rice Gum, he showed a BB gun on stream and he got banned. For Tfue, he called something a raccoon looking skin and he got banned for 30 days. What else? There was this man. He had a pet fish. He dropped it by mistake. He picked it up right after, and he looked like he felt so bad. But with Alinity, bro, she has thrown her cat across the fucking world, bro, and she still isn't banned. She gave vodka to that cat. She has said the N word twice. It's still nothing, bro. I don't understand. Can't take any action. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and this has been brought up many times with Twitch, considering that Twitch has been supporting this issue. And a lot of people have talked about this issue, about the streamers in question getting into trouble. Especially Jake Paul, of all people, got into trouble. And this is hilariously funny. Now, this has been a little bit more than just what was going on. Yes, I know that PewDiePie said the N-word a long time ago, but he apologized for it, and a lot of people have talked about this many times before. This was something that kind of brought a lot of attention to people a while back, talking about this, because this has been a little bit more than what was going on, and this has been a little bit to the point where people are getting fed up with this, because of the fact that when people try to bring this up, let me go ahead and get Dr. Fate's video, because I did watch this video of Dr. Fate, because he made an interesting video about this. But problem is, my video has been trashing up, so I'm gonna have to try to get this out of the way. Hopefully my computer can. Yeah, because my computer's been acting up lately, and it's not really that good. So it's basically billionaire working class heroes ruling class excuses. I need to get out. Okay, so this is the video. I better go ahead and crop it, close this, and just try to go to YouTube again and try to play this out.
Gift you a sub to my channel so that I can How about this? Yeah, can you say something in my channel so I can give you a sub? And then but nigger next prime is in the channel, okay? And how like black friends call each other's nigga, like kind of like calling your friend bitch, like as a good way. It's like making something good.
Last week, Amaranth said the N-word. Now this week, it's Alinity who says the N-word. As I've touched on last week, I've said that Twitch needs to practice their guidelines, or else everyone's going to leave and go to Mixer or some other streaming platform. So, just like as I said before, they're gonna have to ban her, which I'm pretty sure they're not. But like I said before, I'm throwing out the idea that Twitch's way of redeeming itself and making it a platform worth streaming on is to get Alinity banned. It sounds extreme, but Twitch's guidelines were extreme the entire time, and they're biased and sexist. Everyone knows this, which is why everyone knows that Alinity won't really get banned. And of course, like the video I showed you in the beginning, in the intro, she's already actually said the N-word, so she doesn't have a problem with actually saying the N-word. So she actually should have been banned a long time ago, which is surprising to me that she just said the N-word so freely like that. I'm not saying that she's racist for saying the N-word. I'm not saying she's necessarily a bad person for saying the N-word. I'm saying she should get banned like everyone else who says something they didn't really mean to say, or something they slipped up and said by accident because two words came together and sounded a certain way. People on Twitter are trying to argue Alinity just like they're trying to argue Amaranth by saying that two words combined together sounded like the N-word. That's not the point. Just like in my previous video, it's not the point. The point is that Twitch needs to practice its guidelines. It needs to ban people regardless of what they said or what they didn't say. I know it sounds unfair, but...
And this is why a lot of people have discussed this issue about Alinity and her use of the N-word, and how Twitch has been being more lenient towards the to the female streamers lately, and it kind of does point out the issue here, because a lot of people have discussed this issue, and the fact that this has been happening, especially what was going on in the Twitch community. The fact that Twitch should have been more active about the issue and saying that, look, she just said the N-word and we're going to let it slide, but unfortunately you're harassing her. That was the excuse that they made. Even their CEO made this excuse. So it's okay for you to support Black Lives Matter, but when Alinity says the N-word, you don't ban her. Now explain that to me, Twitch. Explain to me why your reason to support Black Lives Matter when you allow someone to say the N-word on live stream and not suspend them for saying that word. That is the question that should be asked about the company itself. Do you support her for saying the N-word while you also support Black Lives Matter? That is the question. So you support Alinity for saying the N-word, therefore you're also associating yourself with the fact that you also associate yourself in support of Black Lives Matter. And why does it have to be that way? I don't get it. You're supporting her for saying the N-word by letting her get away with it, and also the fact that Twitch also is supporting Black Lives Matter, and therefore, why are they supporting Black Lives Matter? That's the question. So you are associating yourself with Black Lives Matter, but letting Alinity say the N-word because she's a woman and she's a minority, and therefore we don't give a fuck. So it's okay for her to say the N-word on Twitch while you support Black Lives Matter. That's the issue that I have with this, because it just shows that, and I'm just pointing this out, does it all really matter? Because I'm just trying to point this out to anyone who's watching this out there, even if it's not going to be watched, because I know Twitch and I know YouTube has been trying to bring down all the commentary channels right now, pointing out issues and pointing out hypocrisies of YouTube channels. They could probably point out my issues, because I admit I'm not a saint either, but I'm just pointing this out to you guys because there's a lot of things that have been going on, and a lot of people have been discussing this, pointing out the issue about the hypocrisy that is Twitch and their concerns about this. Even they pointed out that they were in support of Black Lives Matter. And this is becoming one of those points that it just upsets me, because this has been going on for a long while, and they wanted to go ahead and do this. Yeah, and of course, a lot of people have been discussing this issue, and I just wanted to address this because this is something. Because here's the thing I'm going to point out. Like, and I actually said this. If most companies care about black people, they wouldn't associate themselves with China, considering what they've been discriminating them by using black people as a scapegoat for COVID-19, going so far as by refusing hotels and services to these people. And it's true. They've been doing that. And right now, this is becoming one of those situations to where people are being killed, and I get it. George Floyd didn't deserve to be killed. He didn't deserve this harassment that went on against him. But there was a video of him resisting arrest, which he was resisting for a long while. Now, a lot of people have talked about this issue, and it's becoming one of those issues that is crazy. And the fact that they're going off on this, and it's becoming the current state of the world right now. It's becoming one of those crazy things that are happening against people, and this is becoming one of those situations to where Now, this is what's going on in Seattle right now, and I must warn you, this is not child friendly. So here it is.
No, bro. Go there. Stop, bro. Go there, bro.
Stop. Hey, I'm not trying to aid. Get your hands off me, bro.
Hey, yo. Hey, hey, bro. Hey, you gonna buck up on her, nigga? Chill. You gonna buck up on her? Chill. What's up, nigga? What's up? What's up? Yeah, push her again, bro.
Who the fuck you pushing me? You don't
Push her again. Hey, he's not trying to be. He's not trying to be.
I'm not doing shit. You guys are putting your hands on me. Come on, come
Hey,
But they catched you on video spray painting.
Let him leave. Let him leave. Just let him leave.
Hey, I just did a big point over here. You guys see that shit?
Where's he at?
Respect the culture, my nigga.
Get your stuff. Get out.
Yeah, this is becoming one of those situations to where Raz Simone, a crew, assaulted a man for tagging. A man was repeatedly, he was kicked in the head, punched in the head, and had his glasses broken, but he was tagging. Seattle protests. Put Raz in charge of all of Seattle. He'll have that shit cleaned up in a week. Yeah, and a lot of people are talking about this because this is becoming one of those situations. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, that's cute. Now, a lot of people have been talking about discussing this issue because there's been a lot of things going on. Columbus has been torn down in Minnesota State Capitol, and it's becoming one of those crazy moments right now that's been happening, and it's not even funny anymore. Oh, wow. That's cool. Day 2. Now, I'll show you some of the stuff that I seen retweeted here. Because a lot of people have been retweeting a lot of things, and it's like... Right now, you may have heard that Anita Sarkeesian has terminated her relationship with Max Temkin. Now, to be honest with you, I can't really get into this whole issue because it's a little bit more than what she was saying. She said, I heard about the allegations after some time has passed. I continue to be friendly with him, and I strongly advocate to believing women. But in particular instances, when it came the time for me to uphold that principle and act accordingly, I failed. I have no excuse for this. Which is true, she failed. Because she said some things right here. As an executive director of a nonprofit, I accepted donations from Max and his Cards Against Humanity. Max and I have been on each other's podcasts, and I occasionally sought him for advice. I've stayed at his house, and I've worked out in the Cards Against Humanity office while in Chicago. And even I felt conflicted about it. I kept doing it. I looked around at our mutual friends, and I didn't see anyone else having a problem. So I gave myself permission to think that there wasn't one. I did not realize that they were doing the same to me. They were looking at me, and since I didn't seem to have a problem, they assumed there wasn't one. This thinking is wrong. So keep this in mind. She kind of posted this on her Medium page, and she talked about Max Temkin of Cards Against Humanity. Now, let me show you something that happened. The whole thread about this, because a lot of people were talking about this. Obvious answer is no. Max Temkin has been known to be a trash in the Chicago tabletop scene. He had a history of making sexist and racist comments while using his Jewish background as a shield when called out on it. Also, he claims that his board game cafe is the first one to be in Chicago, which is a bold-faced lie. Bonus Round Cafe beat them by a few years. Wait, she's retrending that he was accused of rape and had an audacity to fight at the accusations. Article in a few years back. His money dried up. Reminder: Anita is an actual convicted sex. No, this is basically they were bringing up the whole accusation of his moderator, Anita's moderator, Vala66, who got into some deep shit in Kansas, being a sex offender. Okay, so she's going to give that $25,000 back, right? Or she's going to give her permission or not to cancel the like. Who's Max Temkin? Now, a lot of people had brought up the issue with Max Temkin, especially his cards, especially what was going on, like throwing out the cards and everything. So it got to that point where a lot of people have talked about this and discussed this issue. And the problem is that Max Temkin has been known to be an asshole in the tabletop scene. A lot of people knew that. But the thing is, it's like, this is becoming one of those things that she said that she's going to end her relationship with Max Temkin in Cards Against Humanity. Because the card, let's put it this way, there's a lot of cards that... because the game itself is like... is a little bit edgy. And I can show you the cards, like the expansions and everything. Like there is a lot of expansions that a lot of people... Cards Against Humanity, the red box, blue box, green box, but there's also cards that piss off a lot of people that are offensive and absurdly, like, you can see the cards, like someone kind of did the Cards Against Humanity expansion. Jews. Cards Against Humanity Jew pack. Like, a lot of the things that were in that card game were like the expansions. This is what they're selling right now. Cards Against Humanity Jew pack. Like, I'm not kidding. Those exist. A lot of people brought that up too. Like, bringing up the issue about the Cards Against Humanity Maker's new Chosen People pack is removed from stores amid the anti-Semitic backlash of Anne Frank and the Holocaust prompts. Now, now it's on clearance for $250, which, yeah, this had happened a while back on December 2017, and this is what you would say. Cards Against Humanity has released the Chosen People expansion. Retail giant Target received complaints about the selling of the deck. It contains jokes about Anne Frank's genitals and the Holocaust. Target had now promised to remove the expansion pack from shops because this is kind of funny though. And it's like torching Jews until they say they're not Jews anymore. You can't see the Jews are behind everything. The banks and the media even this is what Max Temkin had did, and that kind of caused a lot of controversy, and a lot of people brought this up. And keep this in mind, this was what was going on. That's why Anita doesn't wish to associate herself with this, because it was a little bit too extreme and a little bit too edgy. You have to understand that Cards Against Humanity is kind of an edgy card game. You have to have a little bit of a sense of humor about this game, and a little bit of a mind to make that game funny, or make that game a little bit more like, oh my god, that's the thing. A party game for horrible people. It's basically that's what it is. A game that you basically you have to you have to play it dirty. Now, a lot of people had talked about this. This was a little bit more of a controversy, and this was back in 2017. Now, now a lot of people are like bringing up the Cards Against Humanity thing, and it was kind of like it's sort of a little bit of a controversy, and this becomes a problem. Now, what do I think of it? I think it's kind of crazy, but at the same time, I can understand that Anita wants to disassociate herself with this, and that's fine, because that's something that needs to. That's fine. If you want to disassociate yourself financially from this person, and the fact that you had a really good relationship with this person, and this person had caused a lot of problems, and you want to disassociate yourself with that person, you have every right to. It's just, people have to understand that this has become an issue for a while, and it's kind of surprising that this has happened. And a lot of people are talking about this issue about Max Temkin and this whole issue, and this is that's the issue that people are talking about. Also, let's see what J.R. Rowling has been saying. Okay, J.K. Rowling writes about her reasons for speaking out on sex and gender issues. This is an easy place to write for reasons that shortly become clear, but I know it's time to explain myself on the issue surrounding by toxicity. I write this without any desire to add that toxicity. For the people who don't know, last December I tweeted my support for Maya Forstater, a tax specialist who lost her job for what deemed transphobic tweets. She took her case to an employment tribunal and asked the judge to rule on whether a philosophical belief that sex is determined by biology is protected in the law. Judge Taylor ruled that it wasn't. My interest in the trans issues predated Maya's case by almost 2 years, during which I followed the debate around the concept of gender identity closely. I met trans people, I read soldiery books, blogs, articles by trans people and gender specialists, intersex people, psychologists, safeguarding experts, social workers, and doctors. Following the discourse online and traditional media, on the level of my interest in the issues have been professional, because I'm writing a crime series set in the present day, and my fictional female detective is of the age to be interested in and affected by the issue herself, but another. It's intensely personal, as I'm about to explain. All the time I've been researching and learning, accusations and threats from trans activists have been bubbling on my tweets timeline. This is initially triggered by a like when I started talking an interest in gender identity and transgender matters. I began screenshotting comments and interested me as a way to remind myself I might want to research later. That's a really good excuse. by the way. On one occasion, I absentmindedly liked it instead of screenshotting. That single like deemed evidence of wrongthink and persistently low level of harassment began. Months later, I compounded my accidental like crime by following Magdalene Burns on Twitter. Magdalene was an immensely brave young feminist and lesbian who was dying of an aggressive brain tumor. I followed her because I want to contact her directly, which I succeeded in doing. However, Magdalene was a great believer in importance of biological sex and didn't believe lesbians should be called bigots for not dating trans women with penises. Dots were joined in the head of the Twitter trans activists, and the level of social media abuse increased. I mentioned all only to explain I knew perfectly well that this was going to happen when I supported Maya. It must have been the fourth and fifth cancellation by then. I expected threats of violence to be told, and I was literally killing trans people with my hate. To be called a cunt and a bitch, and of course for my books to be burned. Although one particular abusive man told me he composited them. What I didn't expect, the aftermath of my cancellation, was the avalanche of emails and letters that came showing upon me, overwhelming majority, which positive and grateful and supportive. They came from cross sections and kind, empathetic, intelligent people, and some of them in working fields dealing with gender dysphoria and trans people, who deeply are concerned about the way a socio-political concept of influencing politics and medical practices such as safeguarding, but they were worried about the dangers to young people, gay people, and about the erosions of women and girls' rights. Above, they were worried about the climate of fear that serves nobody, at least all trans youth as well. I'm just going to put that in there. I'm just going to say as well because it does sound better than that. I stepped it back from Twitter for many months, both before tweeting the support for Maya, because I knew it was doing nothing good for my mental health. And I returned because I wanted to share a free children's book during the pandemic, and immediately activists who clearly believed themselves to be good and kind and progressive people swarmed back into my timeline, assuming the right to the police and accusing me of hatred, calling me misogynist slurs. Above all, every woman involved in the debate I know TERF. If you didn't already know, why should you? TERF is an acronym coined by trans activists, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. In practice, a huge, diverse cross-section of women who currently being called TERF, and the vast majority never been radical feminists. Explains the so-called TERF range from mother of a gay child who is afraid their child wanted to be transitioned to escape homophobic bullying, to a hit hetero, totally uber unfeminist older lady who vowed never to visit the Mark Spencer again because they are allowing any man who says their identity as a woman into the woman's changing rooms. Ironically, radical feminists aren't even trans exclusionary. They include trans men and in their feminism because they were born women. But the accusations of turfery have been significant to intimidate many people, institutions, and organizations I once admired, who cowering before the tactics of the playground. They're calling us transphobic. They say they hate trans people. What's next? They'll say you got fleas. Speaking as a biological woman, a lot of people in positions of power really need to grow a pair, which is doubtless and literally possible according to the kind of people who argue the clownfish prove humans aren't a species. Oh no, man, that's just sad. A dimorphic species. Okay, So why am I doing this? Why speak up? Why not quietly do my research and keep my head down? Well, I've got 5 reasons for being worried about the new trans activism and deciding I need to speak up. Firstly, I have a charitable trust in focusing on alleviating social deprivations in Scotland, and particular emphasis on women and children. Among other things, my trust support projects for female prisoners and for survivors of domestic and sexual abuse. I also fund medical research into MS, a disease that has behaves very differently in men and women. It's been clear to me while the new trans and the new trans activism is having or likely to have, it demands are met. Significant impact on many of the causes I support because I'm pushing a road and legal definition of sex and replace it with gender. The second reason, I'm an ex-teacher and a founder of Children's Charity, which gives me an interest in both education and safeguarding. Like many others, I have a deep concern about the effect of trans rights movement having on both. The third is that much banned author. I'm interested in the freedom of speech and having to defend it, even unto Donald Trump. You see what you guys caused here against her? The fourth thing starts truly personal. I'm concerned about the huge explosion of young women wishing to transition, and also about the increased numbers who seem to disintent translate and returning to the original sex because they regret taking steps to have some cases altered in their bodies and currently taking away the fertility. Some say they decided to transition after realizing they were the same sex attracted and transitioning to the partly driven by homophobia, either society or in their families. Most people probably aren't aware. I certainly wasn't until I started researching this issue properly 10 years ago. The majority of people wanting to transition the opposite sex were male. The ratio now reserved. The UK is experiencing a 4,400% increase in girls being referred to transitioning treatment. Autistic girls are hugely overrepresented in the numbers. The same phenomena has been seen in the U.S. in 2018. American physicians and researchers Lisa Lindemann set out to explore it. In an interview, she said, "Parents online described a very unusual pattern of transgender identification where multiple friends, even an entire friends group, becomes transgender identified. At the same time, I would have been remiss and had not considered the social connotation and peer influences as a potential factors. Lindemann mentioned Tumblr, Reddit, and Instagram and YouTube as contributing factors to the rapid onslaught of gender dysphoria, and she believes that the realm of transgender identification youth have created a particular insular echo chamber," which is true because they would rather hear their own people, their own voices, their own ideas. But when it comes to people pointing out their issues, they're a bunch of crazy nutcases. Her paper caused a fury which accused of bias and spreading misinformation about transgender people, subjected to tsunami of abuse, and considered campaigns to discredit both her and her work. The journal took the paper offline and re-reviewed it before republishing it. However, her career took a similar hit to that suffered by Maya Forster. Leader Lindemann had dared to challenge one of the central tenets of trans activism, which person's gender identity is innate, like sexual orientation. Nobody, the activist insisted, could ever be persuaded into being trans. The argument that many current trans activists is that you don't let gender dysphoria teenagers transition, they will kill themselves. In the article explaining why he resigned from the Tabak NHS Gender Clinic in England, psychiatrist Marcus Evans stated that the claim that children will kill themselves if not permitted to transition do not align substantially with any robust data and studies in the area, nor do they align with the cases that I have encountered over the decades of psychiatrists, psychotherapists. Sorry. The writings of a young trans man reveal the group is notably sensible and clever people, but more to their accounts of gender dysphoria I've read, there were insightful descriptions of anxiety, disassociation, eating disorders, self-harm, self-hatred. The more I've wondered whether I've been born in the 30 years later, I too might have tried to transition, but alluring escaping one would have been huge, and I struggled with several OD. Okay, so she suffers from OCD as a teenager. I've found the community of sympathy online, and I couldn't find an immediate environment. And I believe I could have been persuaded to turn myself into the son my father had openly said he had preferred. So it's a lot of words here, guys. So keep this in mind. This is J. Rowling's here. So I'm not going to really be a good reader here. So keep this in mind. Okay, when I read about the theory of gender identity, I remember how mentally sexless I felt in my youth. I remember Colette's description of herself as a mental hermaphrodite, and Simone de Beauvoir's words. I prefer natural for the future women to feel indignant at the limitations posed upon her by her sex. The real question is, why should reject them? The problem is rather to understand why she accepts them. As I didn't have a realistic possibility of becoming a man back in the 1980s, it had to be a book. It has to be books and music that got me through my mental health issues, and the sexualized scrutiny of judgment sets many girls to the war against their bodies in their teens. Fortunately for me, I found my own sense of otherness, and my ambulance about being a woman, sorry if I can't pronounce it right, reflected their works for female writers and musicians who reassured me, in spite of everything the sexist world tries to throw at the female body, it's fine not to feel pink, frilly content inside your own head. It's okay to feel confused, dark, both sexual and non-sexual, unsure who you are. I want to be very clear. I know transitions will be a solution for some gender dysphoric people, although I'm aware through extensive research and studies that have constantly shown that between 60 and 90% of gender dysphoric teens will grow out their dysphoria. Again and again, I've been told, just meet some of the trans people. I have, in addition to a few young people who were all adorable, but I happen to know that a self-described transsexual woman who's older than I am and wonderful, although she's open about her past being a gay man, I've always found it hard to think her as anything other than a woman. To believe clearly hopes she's completely happy to have transitioned. Being older, though, she went through a long, rigorous process of evaluation, psychotherapy, and stage of transformation. The current explosion of trans activism urging to removal of almost all the robust systems through the candidates of sex reassignment were one required process to pass. A man who intends to have no surgery to take nor hormones may secure himself as a gender recognition certification, which to be a woman in sight of the law. Many people aren't aware of this. We're living through the most misogynistic period I've experienced back in the 1980s. I imagine my future daughters should have any, and have by far far better than I ever did. But between the backlash against feminism and porn-saturated online culture, I believe things have gotten significantly worse for girls, and I never have seen women degenerated dehumanized to the extent that they are now. From the leader of the free world's long history of sexual assault accusations, his proud boast of grabbing them by the pussy, to the incel involuntary celibate movement that rages on against women who won't give them sex, to trans activists who declare that TERFs need punching and re-educating. Men across the political spectrum seem to agree that women are asking for trouble. Everywhere, women are being told to shut up and sit down or else. I read all the arguments about femaleness not residing in the sexted body, and the assertions of biological women don't have the common experiences, but I find them so deeply misogynistic and aggressive. It's also clear that there's an objective of denying the importance of sex is eroded. What some seem to see that it's cruelly segregation or segregationist idea of women having their own biological realities, or as threatening unifying realities to make them cohesive to political class. That the hundreds of emails I received the last few days prove the erosion of concerns. Many others just as much. It's enough for women to be trans allies, but women must accept and admit that there's no material difference between trans women and themselves. But as a woman, I have said, but as many women have said before me, women is not a costume. Women is not an idea in a man's head. Women is not a pink brain, a like of Jimmy Cho's, or any of those sexist ideas how someone touted as a progressive. Moreover, the elusive language that calls female people men structures, people with vulvas, strikes many women dehumanizing and demeaning. And I understand why trans activists consider the language to be appropriate and kind, but for those of us who've had degraded slurs and spats us and by violent men and not neutral, it's hostile and alienating. That's fair. I would agree with that. Which brings me to the fifth reason I'm deeply concerned about the consequences of the current trans activism. I've been in the public eye now for over 20 years, and I never talked publicly about being a domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor. This isn't because I'm ashamed of those things. It happened to me. But because they are traumatic to revisit and remember, I also feel protective of my daughter from my first marriage. I didn't want to claim solo ownership of the story that belongs to her too. However, the short while ago, I asked her how I feel if we were publicly honest about the part of my life, and she encouraged me to go ahead. I mention these things now not an attempt to garner sympathy, but out of solidarity with the huge numbers of women who have histories like mine, who've been slurred as bigots, having concerns around single-sex spaces. I managed to escape my first violent marriage with some difficulty, but I'm now married and I'm truly good and principled man. So she said 2A, truly good and principled man, safe and secure in ways that I never in a million years expected to be. However, the scars left by a violent sexual assault don't disappear. No matter how you loved it you are, no matter how much money you made, my paternal jumpiness is a family joke. And even I know it's funny, but I pray my daughters never have the same reason I do, hating sudden loud noises or finding people behind me when I haven't heard them approaching. If you could come inside my head, you understand what I feel when I read about a trans woman dying in the hands of a violent man. find it solidarity and kingship, and I have a visceral sense of the terror in which those trans women have had spent their last seconds on earth, because I too have known the moments of blind fear when I realized that the only thing keeping me alive was the shaky self-restraint of my attacker. But I believe the majority of trans-identified people not only pose zero threat to others, but are vulnerable for all reasons. And I've outlined trans people need to deserve protection. Like women, they're most likely be killed by sexual partners, which is true. You get killed by sexual partners. There are cases like this, and I will agree with you on that, Miss Rowling. Because I'm not gonna deny, because there are cases like this that do happen, and I will agree with you on this issue, because there are cases where in California a Marine killed a trans woman, because the trans woman, he wanted to be with this trans woman, not knowing that she was a trans woman. He basically beat the crap out of her, finding out that she was a trans woman. And this actually did happen. Trans women who work in the sex industry, particularly trans women in color, are at particular risk. Even like every other domestic abuse and sexual assault survivor I know, I feel nothing but empathy, but solidarity with trans women who've been beaten and abused by men. So I want trans women to be safe at the same time, but I do not want to make nuttle girls and women feel less safe. When you throw open doors from the bathroom changing rooms to any man who believes or feels he's a woman, as I said, the gender confirmation certificate may now be granted without any need of surgery or hormones. You then open up the door to all men who wish to come inside, and that is a simple truth. That's fair. On Saturday morning, I read the Scottish government's proceedings with its controversial gender recognition plans, which will in fact mean that all men needs to become a woman to say he is one. To use the very contemporary words, was triggered, ground down by relentless attacks from trans activists on social media, when I was only there to give children's feedback about the pictures they'd drawn for my book under lockdown. I spent much of Saturday in very dark places inside my head, memories of serious sexual assault I suffered from the 20s reoccurred on a loop. The assault happened at the time in the space where I was vulnerable, and a man capitalized on the opportunity. I couldn't shut out those memories, and I was finding it hard to contain my anger and disappointment with the way that I believe my government is paying fast and loose with women's and girls' safety. Late on Saturday evening, the scrolling through the children's pictures before I went to bed, I forgot the first rule of Twitter: never expect the nuanced conversations, and reacted to what I felt degrading language about women. I spoke about the importance of sex to have been paying the price ever since. I was transphobic, I was a cunt and a bitch and a turf, and I deserve canceling, punching to death. You are Voldemort, said one person, clearly feeling this was the only language I understand. Yeah. No, I don't really consider you Voldemort, because you're not really a genocidal maniac. You're not a killer. And this is something that I'm going to go ahead and address to J.K. Rowling. You're not a bad person. I just think sometimes people will go out of their way to go after you over this. And I can understand that there's a lot of people that will go after you over this and try to go after you, because it does seem kind of sad, though. It would be so much easier if the tweet approved hashtags, because of course Trans rights are human rights, of course. Of course, trans lives matter. The scoop up of the woke cookies bask in virtual signaling afterglow. There's joy and relief and safety in conformity. But as Simone and Bill as wrote, without a doubt, it's more comfortable to endure blind bondage than work for one of the liberations, the dead, to be better suited to the earth than the living. Huge numbers of women justifiably terrified by trans activists. I know this because so many have got in touch with me to tell their stories. They're afraid of doxing, losing their jobs and their livelihoods, of the violence. But endlessly unpleasant as it consistent of targeting me has been, I refuse to bow down to a movement that I believe is doing demonstrable harm, which I do agree with her on this one, seeks to erode women as a political and biological class, offering to cover the predators like a few before, and which is true. And I suggest you guys look up and J.K. Rowling, I suggest you look up a woman named, who's a trans woman, by the way, in the gaming industry. She's an indie game developer, Tony Roca. A lot of people have talked about that issue about her being sexual, who had sexually harassed people at her job. There had been a lot of discussions about this issue, and a lot of people have talked about this issue about her and how she behaved, especially with her co-workers who she employed, and the fact that a lot of people called her out for her behavior. That's why she has left the business. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Well, let's see here. But endlessly unpleasant and consistent targeting them of me has been, I refuse to bow down to the movement, and I believe doing so demonstrating harm to seek to erode women as a political and biological class and offering to cover the predators like a few before it. I stand alongside of brave women and men and gay, straight, and trans who are standing up for the freedom of speech and thought and for the rights and the safety of some of the most vulnerable in our society, young gay kids, fragile teenagers, and women who's relenting on the wish to retain their single-sex space. Polls show that those women are in the vast majority and excluded only to those privileges or lucky enough to never to have come up against a male violence or sexual assault, and who will never be troubled to educate themselves on how prevalent it is. The one thing that gives me hope is that women who can protest and organize are doing so, and they have some truly decent men and trans people alongside them. Political parties seeking to appease the loudest voices in this debate are ignoring the women's concerns in their peril. In the UK, women are reaching out to each other across party lines, concerned about the erosion of their own hard-won rights and widespread intimidation. None of the gender-critical women I've talked to hates trans people. On the contrary, many of them became interested in the issue in the first place out of concern for trans youth, and they're hugely sympathetic towards trans adults who simply want to live their lives, but who are facing a backlash for a brand of activism they don't endorse. The supreme irony is that the attempt to silence women with the word TERF may have pushed more young women towards radical feminism than the movement seems in decades. The last thing I want to say is this. I haven't written an essay in hopes that anybody will get out of violin for me, not even a teeny weeny one. I'm extraordinarily fortunate. I'm a survivor, certainly not a victim. I've only mentioned in my past because, like every other human being on the planet, I have a complex backstory which shapes my fears, my interests, my opinions. I never forget the inner complexity when I'm creating a fictional character, and I certainly will never forget when it comes to trans people. All I'm asking and all I want is for similar empathy and similar understanding to be extended to many millions of women whose sole crime is wanting their concerns to be heard without receiving threats or abuse. That's fair. I'm sorry for that. I wish you the best, J.K. Rowling. So, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what she said in her words. So, as much as I hate to say this has been going on for a while. Yes, there has been trans activists going after J.K. Rowling, and a lot of people have been discussing this issue for a while. And I just want to address this because it does seem like a lot of things have been going on lately. Now, keep this in mind. This has been something that is a big surprise here because a lot of it has to do with the cancel culture issue, and a lot of people have been going off on J.K. Rowling over this, and it's a big surprise that a lot of people have discussed this issue over J.K. Rowling, and it's kind of funny how people talk about this issue. Now, do I think it was wrong of them to do this? The trans activists going after her, I will agree on this that they went after her the wrong way, because it's kind of obvious that this is becoming a turf war over gender identity, and a lot of people have been talking about this, and it's becoming one of those situations to where it's becoming crazy. Because a lot of people were a little bit upset about this, and it becomes a real issue. Now, a lot of people are going off on the cancel culture aspect of the situation, to where if you're with us, you're against us, and it's like this is becoming one of those situations to where people are getting really fed up with the cancel culture issue with the left, even though the right may have been upset about a lot of things. It gets to that point. There's a lot of things that have been going on, so I got to see what we can put out. And let me see if I can find something, because I know that a lot of people have been wanting to discuss this issue for a while. I will discuss this issue about let's see. Let me see if I can find it. YouTube. I'm just trying to look for something here because I know that this is becoming one of those. Let's see, Reddit. Let me see. YouTube. Go to YouTube and find something new. Let's see if we could find something that would be funny, because a lot of people are talking about this. So let's go ahead and look on YouTube for something new, something cool, acknowledging my faults and addressing my criticisms about this issue. Now, I want to address something right now. Does Blizzard actually care about what is going on? Let's see. Let's see what we got. Let's see here. YouTube. I need to really find something in the news here. I'm going to go ahead and go on Reddit and see what we got on on the Reddit feed that would be interesting to talk about, because like let's see here, because I will like to discuss this issue because I thought it was interesting. So there's a lot of issues going on. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys something. Today, depictions of racism and magic on June 10th by Wizard Coast Archive. Today, we'll be changing our multiverse ID to remove gathering card images of cards invoking prejudice. Originally printed in 1994, the card is racist, made it even worse by the multiverse ID. Unfortunately, codified with years ago. There's no place for racism in our game or anywhere else. But to the point, it should never have been published in nor placed in the gather. But we are sorry. In the events of the past weeks of ongoing conversations about how we are better to support people of color have caused us to examine ourselves and our actions. In actions, we appreciate everyone's helping us to recognize that we fall short. We should have been better. We can be better, and we will be better. To that end, we'll be removing a number of images from our database that are racist or culturally offensive, including invoke prejudice, stone throwing devils, Pradesh gypsies, jihad in prison, crusade. Oh, really? You had to remove those cards. Replacing those cards with images that are throwing the statement. We have removed the card images from our database due to racist depictions of text or combination. Therefore, racism in any form is unacceptable and has no place in our games, nor otherwise. In addition to these cards, we'll be banning in all sanctioned tournament play. There is much more work to be done. We'll continue to make our games and communities and companies more inclusive. Now that we work every day to be better, and we are here for you. We look forward to sharing more of our plans as our games and organization evolves, like Pokemon. Oh, this is fun. I gotta love this. This is actually very fun. I actually really enjoy this. This is the best moment of my life, guys. They're gonna remove such images from the game. So what do you guys think of that one? That's something that a lot of people are talking about. So they're gonna remove Crusade from. They're gonna remove images depicting a lot of things that are happening, and this is a big surprise too. I can't believe that they're doing this, but they are, and it's a big it's a big funny step that they're doing this. Oh boy, sorry about that. It's just a little bit more crazy. So let's see what we got. Let's see here. Let me see. What would we have here now? Now, let's see here. I'm going to look at the news right now. Tencent targets Japanese anime to jumpstart the global growth. Tencent Holdings spurred years in the past Japan-guarded entertainment industry, rekindling the courtship of fabled anime and manga houses. Chinese social media giant has in recent months scooped it up since two prominent local studios, the brains behind the smash hit Nier Automata and Marvelous Inc., those outlays just to start the spending spree designed to extend the Tencent foothold in the creative hub while impending Japan's expertise in console game making a hit franchise creation. According to the people familiar with its strategy, the Chinese firm is in negotiation with several other studios regarding potential investments. They said Tencent has long regarded Japanese entertainment exports as an area ripe for optimization, which is better distributed marketing strategies that can generate vast greater revenue. Having cut its teeth on multi-billion-dollar acquisitions like Clash of Clans developed Supercell, Oi, and Fortnite creator Epic Games, including Chinese publisher Powerhouse, has been repeatedly rebuffed when trying to take over developers and studios in Japan. Its new approach to spend on becoming a favored partner instead of buying board seats, priority access to new content, said people who asked the animated because of plans of not public. Tencent's gaming division declined to comment. Commonly abbreviated to AGZ, Japan's anime comic book gaming franchise is already popular in Tencent's domestic market, world's biggest mobile game arena. They are fueled by the rise of service such as streaming platforms. Bilibili Inc. Provided characters for many of the country's favorite games. But Japanese creators loathe ceded control of their prized assets, having preferred ad hoc licenses deals, leading to bidding wars between publishers such as Tencent, TikTok owner ByteDance Ltd, who each have competing Naruto games in China. ByteDance is prepared for a big push into the gaming this year, and NetEase Inc. and other big company publishers in China have just announced its opening game development studio in Tokyo. Japanese ACGs are world class, while the Chinese counterparts are years behind. Even Tencent cannot cultivate sophisticated IP intellectual properties expertise internationally fast enough, said Tokyo-based games industry analyst Seikun Toto. Sorry if I can't pronounce it. It's all about the quick international expansion, access to established anime, comic, and games prior properties, insight into creating a top-notch IP from scratch. Tencent's vision to help set up a Marvel Universe-like multiplayer franchise with the focus on turning celebrated anime, manga, comic book heroes into storylines into video games squeezes most of it each a bit intellectual property. With its control of WeChat, China's Go multifunctional message platform, the company has a significant advantage in the cross-promotion of its wares. The Japanese creative scene is rich without potential, and the target said, Hideki Yasuda of Ace Research Institute. Popular IPs such as Neon Genesis Evangelion, Doraemon, recognized in China. It hasn't yet been translated into a major gaming hit in that country. Games such as Love Plus by Konami Holdings, Corp de Segra, Nipponichi Software, and Legend of Heroes by Nihon Falcon Corp, holding growth and potential market property adapted to distribute Tencent home market, which the Shenzhen-based company commands roughly half of China's $33 trillion mobile and PC gaming industry data from research firms. Nico Partners shows that the arena is increasingly dominated by titles built on already familiar characters and lore, as 73 of the top grossing mobile games last year were based on existing IPs, according to analysts. Tencent's approach to Tokyo-based Marvelous is seeking to tap the IP library with console development expertise and connections with other AGC creators in April, according to several people in direct knowledge of the matter. Marvelous is known for the story of Seasons farming simulator products, theater shows based on hit anime series such as Prince of Tennis, which itself is an adaptation of the successful manga series. The $7 billion that Tencent is spending for a 20% stake grants it the pole position of licensing Marvelous IP, makes the head of Tencent Japan an extra director. Tencent wants that board presence in order to have an inside view of the company's product pipeline, that people said. Marvelous covers anime, comic, and gaming through and through, and a great target for Tencent, said Toto. And for Japanese anime comic creators, gaming creators, Tencent is a great established name to be associated with. Bullshit. Fighting a tough battle against fiercely competitive domestic rivals, Tencent appears to be willing to spend extra secure the rights to popular Japanese franchises, hoping to leverage them into multimedia juggernauts that lock Chinese consumers into ecosystem to bolster the global ambition. Equally important for Tencent was Marvel's success in developing a console games. Chinese behemoth is virtually absent from the contest, which accounts to 30% of the overwhelming gaming industry revenue, according to Newzoo data. With the new generation of consoles from Microsoft and Sony Corp on the holiday. What about Nintendo? Okay, Horizon bidding partnership with Nintendo as a sole distributor of official Switch hardware and software in China. Tencent is evidently interested in having a larger presence in front. Tencent has also made an investment to Platinum Games Inc., the maker of Bayonetta and Nier Automata, nearly this year in February. So Nico Partners researcher Daniel Ahmad. So yeah, this is I know who Daniel Ahmad is. I do follow him occasionally. He's the owner of the website, which is, and I will say this again, he's the owner of Reset Era. He's like one of the not the founding members, but one of the owners of Reset Era. So keep this in mind. The businesses that are going on over there right now is that, and this is what I'm worried about the business, Chinese investing into the companies. This is what I'm worried about, because a lot of people don't trust Tencent and their association with the Chinese government, and a lot of people have discussed this issue about this a lot. There's been a lot of discussions, especially how they make their games and putting them online, and a lot of people are worried about it, especially when Valorant came out. A lot of people, from what I heard, Valorant didn't do so well. It released it by Riot Games, and it's right now Riot Games is a subsidy of another company, which I understand is like, it's in Los Angeles, but they were right now they are present. They are a owner of Tencent. Now keep this in mind. They are a subsidiary of a parent company, Tencent. Now keep this in mind. A lot of people are talking about this issue about Tencent and what was going on in China, considering that Riot is associating themselves with the company, and right now they are, as you might as well see, in support of Black Lives Matter. You can see right here, but I want to go ahead and ask you guys a question about this. Why would a company support... Okay, the murder yet of another unarmed black man has ignited a national outcry. And of course, you might as well know about the meme thing, the brand black message board that they're trying to do for PR. Now, the Action Plan Social Impact Fund, we're committed to funding $1 million in progress towards the goals of starting initial. Now, keep this in mind. Tencent owns this company. And I want to go ahead and say the news about this, and I want to show you guys the news about this, because this has been happening and this is on Human Rights Watch. This has been happening. China's COVID-19 discrimination against Africans, forced quarantines, evictions, refusal service in Guangzhou, China. This has been happening. So, I want to ask you, Riot, you want to fund and help black people, but when it comes to this whole situation in a particular province in China, which your business parent company is from China, would you support what they're doing to black people in China? That's the question. If you're saying that you're against racism and all that bullshit, I just want to ask about this. Please consider taking it out of the cop skin. Okay, so I just want to address this because this is becoming one of those, yes, there's a lot of racism going on in the game right now, and there's a lot of people talking about this. Like, people are going off on this. Now, this has been going on for a while now. Yes, there's a lot of things going on, and I just want to address this stuff because this is pure comedy gold, and a lot of people are concerned about this.
When real
Now, I want to go ahead and talk about this. I don't know if I want to talk about this. I might end this stream soon enough. I don't know if my friends are going to show up anytime soon, but I find this hilarious, and I just want to address this. So I'm going to try to look around for something because I know that there's some content that I need to look up that is interesting. Because most of the content that they make are interesting too. Oh, I like that. That was actually pretty cool. Yeah, I'm just looking up some stuff because a lot of people are talking about these issues. Oh, so they're making Alex the Kid for, I don't know. I thought Sega was not going to make it, but they're going to make Alex the Kid Miracle World. This is interesting news. I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. I want to go ahead and show you guys something. And it does seem like there's a lot of things going on. Sega was like, fuck Sonic, I miss the good old days. So, yeah, they're bringing back some old school titles. Hopefully, I wish them the best of luck. I'm sorry if I'm being sidetracked here, but this is becoming one of those. Now, I'm going to show you guys some pictures here. This is funny, though. Okay, so far, Chaz is an idea society. No fear of the police. People helping and supporting one another. Class solidarity. Don't know how long it will last, but it's a beautiful moment in history. Seattle's autonomous zone. Now, a lot of people are talking about now has a warlord. It's been 2 days. Now, this is the guy named Raz. Keep in mind, this is Raz. Who is Raz Simone? Who the hell is his crew accountable to? Anyone? Is there a de facto authority here? So it doesn't basically make them warlords. Raz's crew is self-appointed, heavily armed, and indicated that their intentions to police the area has engaged in the use of force, but I'm aware that any rival street force of their stature expressing the desire to hold authority in the area, the power vacuum apparently has been filled. I'm guessing he made himself in control since he has the gun. I only know from 3 years ago when he gave all my staff his mixtape when he came into our work. And this is apparently the identity. Man was tagging over someone's art, which I showed you guys the video. Raz and a group approached him to separate him from the crowd, chasing him for 2 blocks. He begins to film them with his phone, and they take it from him. He tries to get back, and then they attack him, kicking him in the head, breaking his glasses. At one point, Raz threatens to shoot the man. They then began gaslighting him, and as of his fault. The audio only in the most of the end because women in Raz crew filming put the phone in her pocket while streaming continues. Clarity in one choice. So this is Raz right here, as you can see. He's a Seattle rapper. Yeah, for those who don't know, Raz Simone is like a Seattle club rapper. You might as well know. I know because I heard about him. So, Elertra, the homeless people we invited took away all the food at Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. We need more food to keep the area operational. Please, if possible, bring vegan meat substitutes, fruits, oats, soy products, anything to help us eat. Yes, this is becoming such a situation to the protests on what's going on in Seattle right now because they are controlling one specific area, Seattle's People Department of the East Precinct. Listen to peace. And this is kind of funny though, and I'm laughing at this. Right now, these are the people that are living in and that are occupying the area of the street of Seattle. It's becoming one of those funny moments, ladies and gentlemen. You're entering a free Capitol Hill, which they're trying to establish their own little area in Seattle, which is becoming one of those areas right now. You can see right here, you are now entering a free Capitol Hill, which the space is now a property of the people. What street? So I doubt this was anything more I doubt there was anything more bogus than this crap. Not the same one. Underbrow tranny and opted said, "This is my son." I'm not even joking. Here's a pic. He asked me to take of him LARPing as a revolutionary. I've got the pics back to him and as a baby, but there's not this computer. Did he fuck him? Why is he a tranny? This is the this is the most fucked up stuff that you see that they're making fun of on. Okay, day one, and Tiva is already falling apart. Both my wife and I are fucked up, but I don't know where they went wrong. He's pretty normal until his junior year in high school. He hoped to phase 2 years later. Now we're like the pic related to. This is so funny. They really are trying to get his son home, and they're asking 4chan to help. They really want their son to come back home from this whole crazy nonsense that are going on in this Seattle Autonomous Zone. And this is hilarious too, because the source on the ground, the bar media from entering the screening people coming in, they're walking around fully armed, talking about making their own currency and making their own flag. I'm in undercover. There was a movie last night too. They are armed, but they keep walking around asking if anyone knows how to use guns. The currency idea failed. Vote on the circle. That was the call for the core group on the back of my tents. Seattle Autonomous Zone. This is kind of funny. Seattle Autonomous Zone has selected from its ranks the best, brightest comrades and offer. I present to you the new leadership. And they're showing pictures of people left and right on this whole picture. Yes, a sneak peek at the educational movie Inside Seattle Autonomous Zone. This is all the bigger disasters I imagine. They're calling to build the more of these walls and fences and armed guards just to make you this shit up. SOD are moving the plant barricades in front of Chaz's Autonomous Zone. So they're building an autonomous zone. Okay. Hey, Seattle Autonomous Zone. Remember when these guys did the same? What do you think of what's going to happen to you? Because if you think something different, then you are privileged showing it. Now, this is what's going on. Yeah, they're starting this. Only exists to approve the state. You all come out with a straw man on us to circle jerk each other. This is becoming funny though, because this is like I'm making a note of the wingnuts clutching each other in their perils. This is so funny. Who are perfectly fine with a Bundy Ranch. Oh man, this is funny.
Yeah, we know. You don't know the owner of this place? The owner that's actually being nice and letting us stay here?
Oh, God.
You forgot. We are the police of this community now. We are the leaders of this community now.
Someone's property.
Right, but people do work here and live here. Someone does work here and live here.
And you're being disrespectful. That's what the point is.
Someone does work here and live here. The precinct ain't destroyed, bro, and we stopped them from doing that.
Hey, no, we're just chilling.
No, this is my boy right here.
Assholes.
No, bro. Go then. Stop, bro. Go then, bro.
Hey, I'm not trying to aid.
Get your fucking hands off me, bro.
Hey, yo, hey. Hey, bro. Hey, you gonna buck up on her, nigga? Chill. You gonna buck up on her? Chill. What's up, nigga? What's up? What's up?
Who the fuck you pushing me?
Yeah, so that again, that's the video that everyone's talking about, the Autonomous Zone. It's becoming one of those crazy weeks right now. Like, they're blocking off this area because right now it's becoming crazy right now. They're blocking off this area of Seattle because they want to protest the George Floyd thing, occupying the police precinct in Free Capitol Hill in order to maintain that they want to prove their ideas are valid. We need more people with guns at the Chaz. And right now, this is becoming one of those. Antifa is not a real organization. Chaz, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. 6 city blocks in downtown Seattle occupied armed Antifa terrorists. Send a military. Like everyone's talking about this. Like, this is Pine Street. This is 12th Avenue. Captured regime precinct protected by armed volunteers on fire watch. Now, this is what's going on right now. As you can see, this is the area right here in Seattle. This is the occupied Safeway police hold up there. The regime loyal to this outpost volunteer park. It's about right here. And you can see right here that this is becoming one of those crazy captured regime East Precinct. Like they're closing off this whole area right here in Seattle. And you can tell that this is becoming a ridiculous thing. Like, here's another one. Have skills, want to help, email, blah blah blah. This is funny. Like, people are making fun of it. Likely regime counter-offensive strategy. They'll probably send helicopters in. I don't know how this is gonna work. They'll probably get into the baseball field. Use the baseball field as a... They would go to the dugout. This is how I would do this. If I was a military strategist, I would use the baseball field. Go in there. Take out all the enemies. That's how I would go. It would be an open shootout right there.
Hey.
How's it going?
Not much. I was playing some Burnout Paradise.
Oh, yeah? How was Burnout? The new version.
The original Burnout Paradise, not the remastered one.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, everyone's... like, right now in Seattle, it's kind of crazy, man. It's like...
Oh, yeah, the communist commune? Holy shit! Wait, didn't the person who did this commit suicide or some shit? Or try to?
No.
Oh, she didn't die?
She didn't die. It's basically that she was asking for food. Preferably vegan food. She was begging for vegan food.
Of all things, why vegan food? Like, you got homeless people who will eat anything, including the ass of a running squirrel, to survive.
I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at this video right now, this movie. Last night, people watched an educational movie in the Seattle Autonomous Zone, Utter Chaos. And I'm like looking at this. And we gotta look at this clip. Hold on.
Man, your city's fucked, bro.
Not really. I live in Olympia. That's like 20 miles. That's like 40 miles away. 50 to 40 miles away from me. Like an hour away.
Oh, my bad. Well, let's just say, you know what? I'm gonna take it back. Your state's fucked up, bro.
I know.
But yeah, see the United States just fucking burn in real life it's unreal.
Yeah, it's a big surprise. Like, oh yeah.
I mean,
did you? There's also another thing. J.K. Rowling.
Oh yeah, J.K. Rowling's like 7,500 word rant about trans people.
I read it. I kind of agree with her.
What area?
The part about the trans activists being the nuisance in the issue.
The TERFs.
No, it's the trans activists, not the trans exclusionary. She basically talked to the trans. She talked to a few of them and pointed out that she has nothing against trans people. It's just there's the trans. she points out that there's the trans activists who like to abuse their power over others.
It is true. I mean, that's more or less, that's pretty much what all activists do, really.
Yeah, and they go so far to go after people.
Yeah, we got cancel culture, you got outrage culture, you got woke culture, and batshit culture.
Yeah, and apparently we have like a guy named Raz Simone who's the warlord of the zone.
It's not as interesting as. Let me. Here's the thing. I was watching the Timcast. I was watching Timcast a couple of minutes ago. They came out with a better name for the warlord. It was Sarlor or something like that.
Sarlor. Yeah. So
explain to me a bit more about the warlord thing, because holy shit.
Yes. So
I haven't seen that. I haven't. I mean.
So
when someone mentions warlord, usually hear either Immortan Joe, Aguevana, or any Native American chieftain, really.
Yeah. The funny thing is, this is going to turn into Demolition Man Part 2. You've seen the movie Demolition Man, right?
Oh, yeah. The fact that these people didn't prepare it's absolutely hilarious, dude.
I know, because they're going to go with the whole
2 days without any fucking food.
I know. They should have been ready for it.
And then they claim that the homeless people they invited actually took. I mean, let's be honest here. That's the first thing they're gonna do. They're gonna steal your fucking food because they're homeless. They will fucking.
Yeah.
They are starving.
They will leave. They'll eat.
But
no,
no,
and leave.
That's these. How should I say this? These motherfuckers are naive as hell.
I know. And they're learning the hard way how to live it. So this is what.
And of all things, I know someone who actually thinks that I'm a naive motherfucker.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny though.
I mean, Jesus Christ, dude! I just had to tell him.
Yeah, and I think.
What the fuck? I don't need you to go protect me like you're my mother or something.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny though.
You bloody idiots.
Yeah, like Simone is the community leader who said simply the voice of the protesters.
This jackass speaks over me.
I know, and the funny thing, we paid.
And personally,
we paid for this
Jesus
with
Christ,
our taxes. We just want to make sure that use it for the right reason.
Okay.
And this is kind of funny. The midway through the evening protest.
JT, you around?
Yeah, I'm listening. It's just kind of funny though, because it's like the Free Capitol Hill Zone, aka they call it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, which is Chaz. And I'm like looking at this. The property of the people is a sign of graffiti lining the streets with red. Welcome to the Free City Capital. Yeah, because I'm looking at this and reading the articles about this. It's like the Chief Carmen Best met with Simone and other protesters early Tuesday as part of an effort to negotiate. They were asking for open streets. We'll open them, said Best, but that's what we were doing. We were not open right now, but maybe this negotiating will help that. While no police were visible the second straight night, spokesperson of the Seattle Police Department said that they are responding to 911 calls in the East Precinct. They were never responding to... This is... Because the truth is, they said they won't respond due to COVID-19, and they said they won't respond to crimes or shootings. Remember that?
So basically, it's like the purge right now.
Yeah, basically, the police chief Carmen Best, she said that she would not respond to any criminal, like robbings or anything like that, but she would respond to racism.
What about murder, though?
No.
Jesus Christ.
That's how bad it was in Seattle because they were so worried about COVID-19 being spread around in Seattle to the point of it. This is what the result of what happened. The city took advantage of, and that's what happened.
So I'm reading this on a friend of mine's Facebook. His cousin asked him, "Did you get hired for something at the Chaz?" And he responds with talking roof Korean who actually has gear.
Oh, that's true. It turns out he's a Puerto Rican Korean guy.
No. He's actually white Korean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, my friend is white Korean. Like
a white Korean.
And dude's packing. Like, dude's got a fucking AR-15 and everything. He's ready for this shit. He's gonna throw down in the Boogaloo. Oh wait, not the Boogaloo. He's ready to throw down.
Yeah, did you hear what 4chan did?
Oh, the shave, the going bold for Black Lives Matter.
There was also the other one. They created the Boogaloo movement.
Oh yeah, didn't they say something about how fucking flannel shirts were racist or something?
It was actually Hawaiian shirts.
In that case, I'm a racist too! I wore a motherfucking Hawaiian shirt at my sister's graduation! As with every one of my fucking classmates, which was... I'll be honest, it was actually pretty baller, considering it was the 90s and all. So yeah, I am officially part of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So,
White power, 1488.
So they called it the Boogaloo Boys. That's what they called it. Garnered by This is what they said. This is what the article said on Wall Street Journal. Why is an extremist Boogaloo Boys wearing Hawaiian shirts? Aloha shirts become disconcerting signature for the members of a gun-toting anti-government faction.
Oh God.
Yeah. So what happened is it's like that's
never change.
Yeah.
Never change.
That's what I'm not kidding. This is actually
the Boog Boys. Yeah, I heard about that.
The Boogaloo, as in
that's just K being autistic as usual.
Yeah. So 4chan decided to do this, and because
I mean, it's true. I mean, half of my friends are actually from K.
Yeah. So the Hawaiian shirt thing is kind of why.
And some of them actually think the Boogaloo, the whole Boogaloo thing is cringe.
Yeah, no, it is.
Which
cringy.
honestly, pretty much is.
Yeah. So
I mean, you're pretty much LARPing as a military.
Yeah. So
LARPing as a soldier, like.
Here's what they're doing.
It's the same way. It's the same with Antifa, LARPing as Soviet as World War II Soviet soldiers.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers were Stalinists. They will beat you motherfuckers into the fucking gulag if they feel like it.
Yeah. The funny thing was that this is what they're saying on Washington Post. Men wearing Hawaiian shirts or carrying guns are added volatile new element to the protests.
JT, you know what's going to be the terrible reality of these people at Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post and all these other pages?
Yeah.
They might be standing up for the progressive left, but the hard left, like really hard left, like the
right wing. This is actually the right wing that they're saying that is doing.
Oh, sorry.
The Hawaiian shirts have become an unlikely symbol of white supremacy.
How the? Oh, right. neocons.
4chan, because 4chan wrote an article on whatchamacallit. So it's called the Boogaloo Boys.
You know what the
Revolution sequel part 2. That's basically what it is.
1776 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Because they're waiting for a civil war to happen.
We're pretty much in a civil war, dude.
Yeah, this is pretty much a civil war, but I just hope it all ends soon because I'm getting tired of looking at it. So, but at least this one actually got the right idea of what it was about. Like, the co-founding was 2, and it gets even weirder. Then you learn when this whole thing springs from a dumb online joke about the 1984 cinematic flop Breaking Dance Electric Boogaloo. Well, at least one journalist actually did put out the research.
I wonder if these motherfuckers know that the whole thing that breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo ended up becoming one giant meme.
Yeah,
when it comes to sequels.
It became one giant meme, but it also had a cult following because it was like one of Canon's properties.
Wait, Canon made that movie?
Yeah.
I sometimes forget.
There was a documentary called Electric Boogaloo that it was on Netflix, and they talked about it.
Dude, if there is something that Canon is very good at, is making shitty movies, because they don't even try when it comes to movies like this. Like, have you ever seen half the shit that comes from Jean-Claude Van Damme's library? It was like Canon era shit, like Bloodsports.
Well, it's kind of funny though. Like,
and Kickboxer.
There's one movie I never seen was called Rockula.
What?
There's one Canon movie I have not seen that's called Rockula.
Rockula.
Yeah.
Judged by the name alone, it's gotta be what it is.
Yeah, 'cause
vampire rock musicians, huh?
Pretty much.
Well, we got Blackula and Rockula, so might as well.
Yeah, because there's and they're bringing up like the old Canon films, like the years of what they were trying to do.
I think I remember that Gremlins, the Gremlins saga, was actually from Canon.
Somewhere around that, yeah.
And it goes a bit further because I remember the third one having like they were pretty much making fun of themselves.
They did Delta, Invasion USA, American Ninja. They did Exterminator 2, which was such a bad film though. They did the Barbarians, you know, the two.
Conan the Barbarian.
No, the Barbarians, as in the two Barbarian, starring the two Barbarian brothers, which was basically two guys that were considered bodybuilders. They were like, they were called the Barbarian Brothers because of that one movie, because they had this big, they were like huge physique guys, and they were like two brothers that were look-alike.
Dude, I remember that bodybuilding was a giant thing in the 1980s and 90s. I mean, my brother and one of my cousins actually used to buy a bunch of protein on bulk, and they were working out.
Yeah, that stuff does not always work. You have to know what you have to do with that dieting and everything.
It's more the likes of insane amounts of calories. I mean, you gotta eat an insane amount of calories, and then you gotta burn them off. That's
Yeah. Let's see here. Missing in action. There's another one. Later years, output outreach to Apex 43 films. They did a lot of films. I'll be right back. Just gotta do something. I'll be right back. I gotta do something.
alright. Alright, Canon Films. Oh, there we go. Canon Group. They went broke around 94. So, it was founded in 1967. It died in 94. It was founded by Dennis Freeland and Christopher C. Dewey. And then the company owned a bunch of studios in the UK, Israel, and Europe. One of the bosses was he was one of the co-founders. His name was Menachem Golan. Then you got Ovidio G. Asantes and Giancarlo Paretti, who also bought out Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1990. He didn't do jack shit. Okay. B movies like Death Wish, Delta Force, Enter Ninja, Rich Ninja, Ninja 3 by Shokosuke, The Last American Virgin, Breakin', Tough Guys Don't Dance.
Alright. Now I'm back.
Yeah, I was checking out some of the movies that they had in there. You got Bolero Matahari, which was biographical of Matahari, the spy from World War One. Let's see, Missing Action. Oh yeah, they were also the guys who released Robotech the movie.
Oh yeah, they did. But the funny thing was the documentary that Post Canon. I was like looking at it. There was a document. This was the documentary. It's called Electric Boogaloo: The Wild Untold Stories of Canon Films. And that's on Netflix.
And they also own the rights to Spider-Man.
Which is
Holy
now
shit.
which is now with Fox.
So here's the thing, and you know what's interesting? Canon movies were actually more popular in England than the United States.
Which is true. But
somehow.
Yeah, there's even a group that I know of that that's called Gunship, which I listen to, and they're from the UK. And they made their homages to Canon.
Okay, yeah, that's... Wait, what was the...
Yeah, because...
list of Canon films. You know what's funny? One of the guys who ran Canon Group was also owned MGM at one point,
Yeah, he did.
and then he didn't do jack shit with it. He just used it as a. He was too busy doing cocaine and fucking hookers to even care about it.
I heard about that. Yeah, it was kind of funny, but then again, they wasted all that money.
Kid Vengeance, Operation Thunderbolt, God's Gun. Let's see. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hype. What the fuck is this shit? What is this, a comedy? What the fuck? Oh, it ended up being a made-for-TV movie. Somehow.
Yeah. So Zoom closes. Okay, the U.S. video conference company Zoom closes an account of a group of prominent U.S.-based Chinese activists after they held a Zoom event commending the 31st anniversary of June 4 Tiananmen Square massacre. Anuxis has learned.
Did you see the? Did you see that video about the guy the old guy who got knocked down, and then the president explained that he was Antifa?
Yeah, I heard about that. I seen the pictures.
Donald, I gotta say something to the president right here. I know he's not watching. He's got better things to do, but Donald, are you smoking crack right now?
Yeah.
These cops just took down an old guy who was bleeding, and then he ended up dead because of concussions.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that whole thing with that other guy that I saw, that one video. Man, it's like
you mean the guy with the wheelchair guy who got shot in the eye?
Yeah.
You gonna do something with your mayo?
You know what? You might as well declare it America's Hong Kong protest, because the police is pretty much doing the same shit. They're shooting people in the eye with rubber guns. Those things hurt like a motherfucker. I hope to never experience something like this.
Yeah, because someone got shot. It was actually a lady that got shot in the eye with one of them, and it's sad though, because it's like looking at both sides of the whole issue. Police using excessive force. There was like people complaining about them shooting paintballs, but rubber bullets.
I don't want to say all cops are bastards, because they're not. Most cops, there are good cops out there. There's no, but the other thing is, those 4 cops that got involved in killing George Floyd are the definition of bastards.
Yeah, they are.
And they're getting theirs, whether they like it or not. Now, with that being said, niggas be wilding, dude. Holy shit.
Oh yeah, and also the fact that they're going after celebrities.
Yeah. And I mean niggas as in AS, not ERs. Just in case. But yeah. There's going after celebrities because they're not speaking to oh wait, I forget, Black Lives Matter is basically us versus them. You're either on our side or their side. There's no in between. They're incredibly black and white.
Yeah, and it's getting to that point where people are not happy with the situation.
A friend of mine said it best. The police are a symptom, not the problem. They're a symptom of something bigger. And keep in mind, the guy I'm talking about is an anarcho-capitalist. and frankly, he's spot on. He's spot on. We got this society has a lot of issues.
Yeah, we do.
We truly live in a fucked up society where no matter what side you're on, you're fucked. And it's the old divide and conquer technique that has been going on for millennia. It's this protest is not about nothing else but overglorified tribalism.
It is, and I do agree with you on that. It's like this is becoming overglorified tribalism to the point where celebrities are supporting them, celebrities are considering them heroes, celebrities are getting booed for disagreeing with the fact, especially with one particular actor in question.
Mark Wahlberg? Or, wait, what's it?
No,
Oh wait,
Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell.
I heard that
the guy from Arrow.
Oh, the guy who played elongated man.
No, it's Arrow. The guy from Arrow, the Green Arrow.
No, the thing is, they went after the guy who also played Ralph Dibny in
The Legends of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this whole cancel culture thing is becoming ridiculous too, because that's what's going on too. Yeah, even I'm surprised. Like I wanted to point. I actually did a little bit while you were gone streaming. I did a little bit of research on companies. The companies supporting Black Lives Matter, and it turns out some of those companies weren't really saints either.
Yeah, like fucking Blizzard, who decided to fuck with Blitzchung and not support the Hong Kong liberation movement.
Yeah, even the whole thing with the NBA thing, same thing too. Like,
and there's and also fucking Disney, who were virtually signaling about how Black Lives Matter, but that shit doesn't apply in China because of the whole scandal with Finn not being in the main poster in the Chinese market.
I know, and the funny thing about it is that there's also an issue in China that happened. You heard about the incident with McDonald's refusing to serve black people?
Oh, yeah.
That was another issue that happened in China. Like, they were refusing them hotels. They told them to leave China. That was
Yeah.
one particular province in China that happened. And a lot of the businesses were refusing. I don't know why any company would associate themselves with that country and say, oh, they're racist and all this other stuff. And it's like, you realize that China's doing it too. They're discriminating black people, using them as a scapegoat for the virus, and yet you want to still do business with them for that reason.
Yeah, my choice is... Oh, right. I forget that they don't call it China because... of all things, China has a huge stake in a lot of these companies.
Yeah, and the fact is, they're trying to go off on the deep end with a lot of the things that they say. Like, even when you have like Epic Games, for example, Epic Games, they say they support Black Lives. But the funny thing is, they try to put out like a poll, and I thought it was kind of hilarious that they said, "Oh, we support white supremacy over Epic Games." And
it is. In Epic Games is pretty much one of the arms of the Chinese Communist Party. They are owned.
Yeah,
so
yeah, because a lot of people were kind of pissed off with them about that whole issue with China because of the fact that there was the computer thing, the whole there was a lot of things going on with Epic that a lot of people don't trust Epic for a lot of good reasons, especially buying.
Yeah, data mining being one of the main issues because Epic Games has what I would say, Epic Games has straight up spyware in their launcher. And in the case of Activision Blizzard, well, we all know what happened. Because they banned a player for Hong Kong for speaking his mind about how his country was being oppressed by the Chinese government.
Yeah.
And without knowing, what Activision did was trigger one hell of a shit show.
Oh yeah, it did. Especially you remember what happened with the NBA thing that they had over there too. That incident happened, and the NBA was like, we apologize for what one of our players has said, and we're.
Oh yeah, one of the players from the. Oh yeah, it was actually one of the trainers from. It was actually the owner of the Houston Rockets.
Yeah.
And then the NBA, as the good liquor that it is, decided to bend down and take it up the ass.
Yeah, and if they would have known about what was going on in the Guangzhou province in China, they wouldn't associate themselves with this shit. But unfortunately, they do. They don't really care about, as they claim they do. That's the point I'm making here, is that they think they care about Black Lives Matter, but they really don't. They say they care, but they don't. Because if they would have found out what they were doing in China, using them as using black people as a scapegoat for COVID-19 and telling them to leave, and also refusing service and refusing hotel, because a lot of people were pointing this out of the hypocrisy. Like, I was trying to point out the hypocrisies, but I'm surprised that YouTube doesn't show that, because a lot of people had pointed out this issue about BLM. And I actually had to point this out to a lot of people, that these companies do not share your interests. They are giving you this money because they feel guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Hollywood doesn't. Corporations don't give a shit about your feelings. All they care about is one thing, and that is profit. That's it. Profit. That's the only thing corporations in Hollywood give a shit about. If you think that Hollywood's your friend, I have a bridge to fucking sell you. I have a bridge to sell you, dude. Honestly. Woke Hollywood ain't shit. And, oh yeah, JT, there's one more thing. Not just not just African Americans, but also Africans in general. I mean, have you seen what they're doing in Africa?
Oh yeah.
They're colonizing the shit out of them, man.
Oh yeah, they are.
And then, and yet they go after white people when it comes to colonizing people, but they don't talk shit about the Chinese. My soft power, yeah, enjoy paying that fucking debt. I mean, look at places like Australia. They pretty much woken up for this bullshit.
That's been going on for so many days.
Yeah, what basically is China using soft power tactics to take over industries, and then as collateral, if you don't pay their debt, they will take your national monuments and among resources as collateral. If honestly, Serpent CA and Law 186 have a better, more detailed point of what's going on in China, because they both live there.
And they had to leave because of it.
And well, China Uncensored, considering that the parent company happens to be NTD, which is owned by Falun Gong, they are a bit biased. Yes, they are a bit biased. I mean, I don't mind the anti-communist shit. I really don't, because I sympathize with them. But the whole but Falun Gong, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm actually surprised they haven't gone on Shinrikyo on these motherfuckers yet.
They haven't yet.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they haven't. But that's not to say. That's not to say that. I mean, the fact that they believe that Chinese medicine is superior to Western science. Well, that's kind of a red flag because honestly, look what Chinese medicine has done us.
Any good science is any good medicine is good medicine. Any bad medicine is bad medicine. It doesn't matter what, but anyone can get a second opinion on whether or not they want to get help from a expert in medicine or new age medicine. It doesn't matter. They can do that. They have a choice.
True. And they have a choice to practice their religion. So I'm not gonna in the case of Falun Gong, I'm gonna say that you guys are 50-50. Honestly. They're 50-50. For one thing, I understand their message about how China is oppressing them and how the Chinese government is pretty much persecuting them because of their views on communist China. Because of all things, yeah, communist China fucked up. They are in fact they're easily the worst regime I've ever seen. Even worse than Nazi Germany. Like, in comparison. Dude, not even Stalin has a higher kill streak than these motherfuckers. I mean, considering Chairman Mao's kill list, it's well over 70 billion. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, a lot of people...
Anyways,
and it's kind of funny how most people don't know that history either. They just assume they know better and therefore they're intelligent.
Now that being said, there is one thing I want to say. I respect NTD when it comes to their journalism because they are easily one of the few people who will not hesitate to talk shit about the Chinese government, and that takes some balls, actually.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a reason I'm still subscribed. I still watch their news sometimes. China. I'll be honest. I love China and censor myself. It's basically it would be like it's basically the Daily Show. But for Chinese media and Chinese propaganda, like they're not afraid to call it their bullshit.
I know.
And they do have some good documentaries, like the 9 Comets of the Communist Party. Even though part of it has how should I say this? Falun Gong propaganda. I'm being unbiased here. Like they're pretty. I do find it funny that they claim to be very unbiased, and yet most of the stuff they cover involves Donald Trump.
Yeah, they always do. It's like the one with the handshake thing. It's kind of like that CNN, like they spent an hour analyzing a handshake.
It's like they had nothing else to report on.
Yeah, it's like
that reminds me of that Hank Hill, that episode of King of the Hill where Hank Hill shakes George W. Bush's W. Jr.'s hand. It's incredibly limp, and he gets really concerned about it because you're supposed to be if you're a strong leader, you're supposed to give him a very firm handshake. It actually legit matters regarding when it comes to handshakes in a business meeting. A firm handshake, from what I understand, is a sign of trust.
Oh yeah.
That forced the Nicky Cage behind enemy lines for PWD escape. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They also made the sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Fucking hell. Okay, so I'm checking out the Barbarians. Okay, so this is an Italian. So this is an Italian movie that was shot in Rome.
Yeah.
And it was. My God, the Barbarian Brothers were nominated at Golden Raspberry Award for Worst New Stars. Holy shit!
Yeah, back then they were the hugest guys.
The Paul brothers. Well, at least they're not. Well, the other Paul brothers.
Yeah, because they've been known to be the two bodybuilders now. But
Wait a minute. Didn't these guys get parodied in shows like one of the guys who how should I say this? One of the guys who were shouting, "We're gonna pump you up," and they clap their hands. Are those the guys?
Somewhat, yeah. But they were also in DC Cab, which was kind of funny.
Oh dear God, Mr. T's in this. Giorgio Moroder made the music for this. All right. Oh wait, so this was made. So Adam Baldwin starred in that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah.
But whatever.
The Paul brothers were kind of they were really big. They were back in those days. They were like the biggest. They were like the biggest bodybuilders in the business.
Gary Busey performed "Why Baby Why." Gary Busey sang in a song, in a movie. All right, so this is So it ends up this is the same guy who directed Lost Boys and Batman Forever. Okay, never mind.
Pretty much.
All right. Car Wash. I remember that movie. Holy shit. Okay. Dude, I actually remember watching that movie, Car Wash. It was, 1976 was a hell of a year. Yeah, you had George Clooney as the taxi driver in there.
Oh yeah.
Anyways,
and they starred in those movies. Like those two guys were really big. They were really big bodybuilders back in the days. And it's like you'd be surprised. Adam Baldwin was in it too.
Yeah, I was checking it out.
It was like Paul Rodriguez. I remember Paul Rodriguez. It was like he wasn't
All
that
right.
big of an actor, but he was funny.
Welcome to the car wash. The car wash, yeah. There is there is something I find interesting about Canon. And it's the fact that despite they were honest about what they were doing regarding B movies. At least they were honest about what they were doing. I mean, Chuck Norris. You had Chuck Norris, Jacob Van Damme, and I mean, if Steven Seagal can be famous doing nothing but shitty movies, why the hell not, dude?
Well, I'm surprised he's still doing movies, though.
Well, when he's not on terminal trunk derangement syndrome, yeah.
Well, a lot of people are.
Well, there's nothing wrong with criticizing the president, but when he lives rent-free in your head, that's where you need to sort your shit out.
Well, the weird thing about it was he moved to Russia when Obama was in office.
You know, I just find it interesting that the guy. I'm surprised he didn't move to Japan because he was born in Osaka.
That is true.
I mean, Russia, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
He moved to Russia because of that, and he just spent most of his time like playing the blues. But of course, he got accused of something else that happened, like the cancel culture thing, like the Me Too movement.
Okay. The Road Raiders. Oh, so it ends up the guy died one of the Paul brothers, David Paul, died a couple of months ago.
That's sad. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he died on March 6, 2020 in his sleep. He was 62. Yeah, the guy died a couple of months ago, really.
Yeah, for those who don't know, let me go ahead and show you a picture of them. This is the, he died on March 6, 2020. And...
Oh, they were also on Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a Knight Rider episode.
These are the guys that they're talking about. A lot of people don't realize that they are... I was surprised though by the looks of them. Like they used to be really buff guys in the business, like in Hollywood. But this is the current picture of Paul Grossman, and you can see here that I think it's because they were put on. They had so much. They were using so much juice.
Steroids are a hell of a drug.
Well, yeah, steroids does that.
Oh, they both appeared on a Knight Rider episode called Night of the Drones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're twins.
Yeah. Then and now. This is from 2000 something. I can't remember.
All right, so we're talking about bodybuilders here,
yeah.
but
yeah, but we're talking about that other thing that happened.
I mean, if I was born in the 1970s and I started seeing these guys
in the 80s, that's how they got popular. The 80s.
I mean, Cannon also did the Hercules movie with Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah, that's true. That's another one that they did. But they hired like actual bodybuilders to do this.
And it also saved them the trouble of stuntmen because these guys would do their own stunts. Like, have you ever seen the OG Incredible Hulk series?
Yeah, the original one, yeah.
I mean, Lou Ferrigno was that guy. Like, he would do all the stunts. He would lift cars and crush people and shit.
Yeah, that's what he did. He got paid to do that, but the funny thing, I actually met Lou Ferrigno a long while back.
How was he?
He's a nice guy. It's just he went through a lot over the decade. Like he was destitute and broke, and he became like, yeah, I got paid. He became like a deputy in California. Like he became a police deputy in California because he needed money for a job. He wanted to work. Problem is like he couldn't get that many opportunities like he used to when he was on the movie when he was on the TV show, because he was dealing with issues like depression, drugs, and a lot of the issues that happened to him. I kind of felt sorry for him.
And the fact that one of his brothers fucked him over.
Yeah. He could have been living large, but he had to live out the small life after that. He still gets opportunities to get a job, but it's not like he can get as much as he can.
Well, he is on SWAT though. Like he at the CBS show SWAT.
Yeah, but they're gonna cancel that show because of the whole George Floyd situation.
Oh God, there's something I need to talk about. Why cops, dude? Why did they cancel cops? I'm actually surprised that show even kept going.
Yeah, I'm surprised too, because that show used to be like an archive. It wasn't really like the real deal. It was basically used as a teaching tool for cops to take action on what they need to do.
It's actually crazy that the show is actually 30 years old. This show is as old as I am.
Yeah, it's been around since I was a kid.
And it was actually Paramount Pictures' decision because, I know people who are cops who are family members. One is my nephew. He went to the police academy, but he ended up being a correctional guard.
Yeah, I knew a girl that was into that job.
And it's not an easy job either. I mean, you gotta deal with these serial killers and shit.
Yeah, she had to deal with a lot. She had to deal with a lot of people. Like she had to deal with women that were in that business. But it's like that job is really hectic, especially when you try to work at that job. Especially you deal with the issues of prisoners trying to either do bullshit or even practically putting shit all over the walls and everything. No joke, they actually did that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember watching that. I remember watching Locked Up on MSNBC back in the day, and yeah, if there's an image that stuck with me was the one about the schizophrenic who started smearing shit on his cell on maximum security.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny how people look at it this way. It's not easy being a prison guard, especially you have to deal with the issues of people fighting or people trying to kill each other or people doing crazy ass shit just to get out of jail.
Yeah, like the prisoners who I remember reading about some prisoners who wanted to get out of prison and they got infected with CCP virus.
Yeah, they would rather get out of it.
Holy shit, you fucked up an area, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that shit just to get out of jail.
Well, at least I know where it is now. I'm trying to break all 400 billboards of Burnout Paradise as I'm talking. and I forgot what the fuck I got in.
Well, you gotta just pull an accident.
Basically destroy shit. Oh yeah, it's here. Yeah, I got. Yeah, if I do that, I will unlock a car, and then last night alone, I spent at least 3 hours on a stunt run trying to rank up 1 million points. I scored 3.4.
Jeez.
Booyah, bitch! 117 out of 120. You know, this for being I'll be honest with you. For being an EA game, Burnout Paradise is actually aged well.
Yeah, it's a really fun game. I just wish I had the money back then to play that game.
The thing is, I wish it was. I honestly wish that they would release the all the DLC on the Steam version because they don't have it. I had to buy all the DLC on the fucking console version. In my case, the Xbox 360 version.
Yeah, they I don't know why they didn't do that, but then again, you could play it on your Xbox One and play it and get the DLC, and they sell it on there too. Because I played like a bunch of games on there. And
it's also on PC, but you gotta download Origin. And the ironic part is, I have a boycott. I'm actually boycotting EA.
I know. I don't. As much as I want to buy games on some of the games that EA made, it's just a lot of issues with EA is that they did one thing right. One thing, I will give them that. They didn't put any like microtransaction on one particular game, and I actually played that game, Star Wars. The one Star Wars game, which I'll mention, but then again, it's not going to happen.
The problem is that EA is a leech. It's basically a parasite that sucks on other game developers. I mean, considering what they have done to Criterion, the people who did the Burnout series, they did them dirty, man.
I think it's because they basically used them to make their games, and then they just try to, because they were hoping that those guys had to make money, but the problem is that they basically used them to make money off of them.
And one of the three of the people who funded it ended up making another game that is for now an Epic Games exclusive, Dangerous Driving.
Oh.
Yeah. They founded the original founders of Criterion made a company that's called Three-Way Company.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Yeah, that's the name. Three Fields Entertainment is the name of the company.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. Like they had to leave that company. They had to leave that company because EA basically canceled them. They basically owned the rights to the company and basically destroyed them. They could have just went like, here's your game. Here's the company. You can have it back. We're just gonna go ahead and leave you guys broken. Obviously, hire the people that we want and take.
All right. So the company was founded by none other than Alex Ward and Fiona Sperry, who were the founders of Criterion.
Yeah.
Besides developer Paul Ross, these Brits pretty much. They're pretty much the people responsible for both Black and Burnout.
Yeah.
They also made a... let's see. It says here that their first game was called Dangerous Golf.
Yeah.
And the second one was Little BR. Danger Zone happens to be the third version, and it's basically here's the thing. What Danger Zone is that it's basically Burnout's crash. It's actually Burnout's crash time mode in game form, like in its own.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah, crash mode. There we go.
I can understand. It's like they basically tried to.
They try to replicate the Burnout games, which is and Dangerous Driving is basically their spiritual successor.
And that's what they've been trying to do.
And it ends up that they're gonna spawn a sequel this year. It's on Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. But you know what? I wish these people would just release that game on Steam so I can buy it and give EA a middle finger, the middle finger they deserve.
I agree, because EA for decades have been like, for 2 decades they were okay, but then they started going with their directional bullshit, trying to ruin companies left and right, and it got to the point, like, a lot of the game developers, if they would have let them do their own thing instead of trying to do the whole money grab, cash grab situation, like with microtransactions and all this other shit, they would have been an okay company.
This? Oh, JT, go look at this. We're talking about Burnout, and it's on sale for $5 on Steam. The remastered version. With all the DLC. All the add-ons.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if it's real. I have a...
But they also have Dragon Age Inquisition on Steam.
Let's see if it's true, because I have...
It's on Steam. It's the Game of the Year edition, which they're putting it on. And it's on... Dragon Age Inquisition is... And I'll probably show it to everybody.
Let's see, library.
Yeah. So
You know what? I'm gonna install it and see if it's real. If it has all the DLC.
What, the Game of the Year edition?
No, the I just bought Burnout Remastered. I just bought Burnout Paradise Remastered. It's 7 gigs. It'll take me at least 2 hours, which I don't mind.
Which is like 7... Well, it's like $5.
Yeah, dude.
That's actually, it's not. It's actually $20, but then again, they lowered down from the, and it's kind of mixed reviews on it.
Let's see how bad it is. Let's see how bad is it though.
Yeah, the requirements.
Fits flat screen on start. How to unlock all the vehicles.
Let's see. It says right here, the game is fantastic, prone to crashes unless you run the game on borderless mode. Download this mod. Disables the original overlay. Terms of gameplay. Fun sandbox. Tons of challenges. Mini games. Expansion multiplayer. However, best played with friends. Yeah, so it's... Some guys literally made this song. Take Me Down to Paradise City. It's a nice remaster. Requires the original client to play, like with the Ubisoft and Rockstar launchers.
Yeah, I forgot about the fact that, well, in this case, you had to download I think you had to download the Origin launcher. I'm not sure if I can start with Steam.
Yeah, it doesn't go with Steam. It's like, it says right here, you can download this mod. Let me look at this mod right now. BO98BR mod directory. core fixes. Crashes during when logging into Windows, not Origin. User contains non-aesthetic characters. This is actually pretty interesting. It unlocks, like, it has all the languages and everything from Spanish to English.
Well, if I don't like it, I could always send it back for a refund.
Yeah. Yeah, so you should read the reviews before purchasing it.
I already bought the original, and that one didn't have all the DLC, but it ran fine. It ran fine on my old computer.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this stuff, and it's like, I kind of agree with it. Says it has 4K support, but whenever I try to load it up on my 4K monitor, my PC instantly says the game is not responding. I got the game working twice, but anytime I tried clicking off of the game clicks back and it would have stopped working. I also tried changing it from full screen to borderless, but somehow broke my game even more. It
Incorporates third-party DRM, EA Online Activation, Origin client software installation, and background use required. Third-party account EA supports blah yada yada yada. Alright, so it says here 8 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs available space. It needs an NVIDIA GTX 750 Ti or AMD Radeon. The DirectX version 10, an Intel i5 or an AMD Ryzen 3. Let's see. I have to fill with the NVIDIA settings. I might get
but
this.
They do have Need for Speed Heat, which I'm not.
I don't even, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah. I don't care about Need for Speed anymore. I mean, I was watching Need for Speed I was playing Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, and here's the thing: I actually do have the game on Origin, as a gift, but Origin, EA and I are not the best of friends.
I know.
It's ironic.
I used to like playing Underground. That was the one game I really liked because of the soundtrack.
Oh my lord! I actually downloaded it on the PC.
Yeah, and that actually had a good soundtrack. I just wish they reverted back to like Need for Speed Underground 3, and put all the rap tracks on there and everything.
Need for Speed Underground 3 will probably not happen. And here's the thing: a lot of people I know who bought Need for Speed 2015 said that the game had some massive issues on the PC version.
Wow.
Yeah, it either didn't play, it crashed constantly, or
yeah, and they got like Need for Speed Deluxe Edition.
And here's the thing: Need for Speed Heat has a new update, and it's the final one. So any bugs that they will they had the chance to sort out, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Because I just read that